With the Dragon Ball Super superhero arc finally wrapped up in the manga, we are now heading towards what is seemingly the Black Frieza saga, and with the recent release of Chapter 101, not only do we see Broly sparring with Vegeta while in his base form, but we also see Gohan briefly tap into his beast transformation, and his ki was so great that Goku could feel it all the way from Beerus' planet, and decided to head to Earth and see what was going on. And with the statements and feats surrounding both Broly and Beast Gohan, I thought it would be interesting to put these two up against each other and talk about who I think would win this matchup. But before the video starts, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment to help support both me and the channel. And with all of that being said, let's first talk about Broly from the Broly movie and see how he stacks up when comparing him to Beast Gohan. So when discussing Broly from the Broly movie, there's actually various different statements that can actually place Broly within that Beast Gohan tier of power, or in some cases directly above him. First, there's the statement from the Dragon Ball Super Broly film poster that states that Broly is the greatest enemy, which also supports another statement that is from the Fuji TV summary that says, and I quote, "Goku and his friends will face their deadliest challenge yet." End quote. And in the fourth trailer for the Broly movie, it was also stated that Broly was the mightiest, and that he was battling against Gogeta, who is also said to be the mightiest. And in a Psycho Jump article, the Psycho Jump editorial team says that Broly is the strongest, and that for those who believe that Goku can win, their confidence will be shaken. And there's also a statement where it questions if Broly has the power that is greater than or surpasses that of a god of destruction, which would actually make sense, as in the Tournament of Power, the previous arc from the Broly movie, Jiren had statements, various of them in fact, of being stronger than a god of destruction and being the strongest enemy up until that point. Not to mention that Akio Ioku, who was the former head of Shueisha's Dragon Ball room, said that Dragon Ball Super superhero had to go in a completely different direction than the usual movies, because Broly was just too strong, in which there is actually evidence to help back up and support this, because we know that there are various different statements of Broly in the Broly movie, and how one of them just says that he's outright the strongest man in the movie, and there's also a Akira Toriyama statement where he says that Broly can actually beat up Incomplete Cell Max, while if Cell Max was actually completed and had his mind control program, then he would be able to beat Broly. And this also means that Broly would be stronger than 7-3 Moro and Ultra Instinct Moro, Granola, and even Gas as well, who were repeatedly gaining massive increases to their power throughout the duration of the Granola arc. And you could arguably make this the case, since Goku says that he hasn't come across anyone as tough as Moro up until this point, with the definition of tough meaning strong enough to withstand adverse conditions or rough or careless handling. And he doesn't outright comment on Moro's direct strength of power like he does with Broly. But this argument can fall flat, since we know that in Toyotoro's interview right when the start of the Granola arc happened, he says that the strongest three characters in the verse up until that point in terms of mortals only is actually Granola, Vegeta, and Goku, and he doesn't actually include Broly at all. And keep in mind, Granola, Gas, Goku, and Vegeta all constantly shift in power for the four strongest characters during this time as well. Then there's also the statements of Broly being stated more than once to be the strongest Saiyan, although this doesn't include Beast Gohan since he wasn't even a thing during this time. And he's even said to be other things as well, like history's strongest or the strongest berserker, and even history's strongest enemy. And when talking about his statements from the superhero movie, although there aren't that many, they are still good enough to where they can really get Broly super high in the pecking order of strength. There's the statement that says Broly is the strongest man in the superhero movie, and there are many different ways you could interpret Broly's strength through this. First is that Broly is the strongest man out of everyone in his base form, which could be plausible since it shows base Broly in this, and we later find out while he's battling Vegeta that he can't really transform into his Akari form or his Super Saiyan forms at will, and he's also battling against and holding his own pretty well against base Goku and base Vegeta, and is also doing pretty good against Super Saiyan Vegeta as well. But another way that you could argue this or interpret this statement is saying that Broly is actually the strongest man in the arc because he scales above the incomplete Cell Max. We know that Akira Toriyama himself says that if Cell Max was actually fully completed and had his mind control program actually intact, then Broly would lose against him, which means that since Cell Max wasn't at full power, Broly in seemingly his base form can defeat incomplete Cell Max. This would put Broly above the likes of Orange Piccolo and Beast Gohan directly, since Piccolo states that if Gamma 2 hadn't weakened Cell Max with his attack, then they would have actually lost the battle. And this was also accounting for Beast Gohan as well, since Piccolo was watching Beast Gohan battle against Cell Max when he transformed, and he usually has a relatively good gauge of power for people. Not to mention that Orange Piccolo is stated by Akira Toriyama to now be on par with Goku and Vegeta directly, and Beast Gohan, who is stated to be the strongest warrior as of right now. I've heard arguments that Broly isn't actually a warrior because based off the actual dictionary definition of warrior, Broly doesn't actually fit the description. But Broly has been stated to be a warrior before from the Dragon Ball Super Superhero Weekly Shonen Jump page, where it says, and I quote, "The latest and greatest movie. The mightiest warriors are on the move," end quote. So not only has Broly been called a warrior before, but he's been called a warrior in the same movie as Gohan has, and also has the previous statements of being the strongest man and being able to defeat Incomplete Cell Max when it stated that Beast Gohan couldn't. And these are all of Broly's main statements, so does any of these actually compare to Beast Gohan? Let's find out. So to start off, we know that Beast Gohan should be above all other mortals in Universe 7 like Goku, Vegeta, and even Black Frieza, since before the superhero arc, Frieza was stated to be the strongest in the universe in chapter 87 of the Dragon Ball Super manga, and Whis hints at Frieza being the strongest at the end of the Granola arc, and that someone else could possibly emerge and become the strongest, with that person being Beast Gohan, who is stated to be the strongest warrior at the end of the arc. Toriyama himself also says that Gohan is the strongest character, and this is further supported with Piccolo also telling Pan that Gohan at his peak can actually be stronger than Goku, which we have seen firsthand. Although those are the only known statements for Beast Gohan, his feats are still very impressive despite that. He was able to defeat a weakened Cell Max who Piccolo wasn't sure that even Goku or Vegeta couldn't defeat. Now I'm saying "or" in this instance because it's pretty obvious that Goku and Vegeta by themselves wouldn't be able to defeat pre-weakened Cell Max, but there are possible arguments to say that they might be able to beat the post-weakened version that was weakened by one of the Gammas, although this is probably unlikely as well. Piccolo is unaware though of Goku and Vegeta's massive power-ups throughout the Granola arc, and is also completely unaware of Vegeta having Ultra Ego because he hasn't seen them since the Moro arc, so he's basing this off of what he saw from those two during that, which is completely valid since the Gammas are at the bare minimum stronger than that version of Goku and Vegeta, since Orange Piccolo was able to one-shot one of the Gammas, which should make Orange Piccolo on that at least perfected or true Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta tier of strength. I know in my Black Frieza vs Beerus video, I went over where I had some of the characters placed in strength very briefly, but I like to go over that again and update it slightly, especially taking into account more of Broly's statements. And so in the order of strength, it should go something like this. Moro arc, Goku and Vegeta are the weakest characters in this arc. They're not in this arc, but they are referenced a lot, so I'm placing them at the bottom. This is also blatantly pretty obvious, so please, I hope that you guys don't try to argue with me down below in the comments. Then there's the Gammas, who are both said to be above Moro arc, Goku and Vegeta, since the Red Ribbon Army only has data up until those versions of those two, with the Gammas also having feats to just back up just being blatantly stronger than them. Next is Orange Piccolo being above them, who is said to finally be on par with the current version of Goku and Vegeta, and I swear if I see somebody comment that this isn't in reference to the current Goku and Vegeta, I'm gonna lose my mind, I promise you. But this should be further consistent because Orange Piccolo just one-shots one of the Gammas, which would make sense because I'm pretty sure if current Goku and Vegeta fought their peak forms of the Moro arc versions of themselves, that being Perfected Ultra Instinct and Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, 100% certain nobody would have a problem with Goku and Vegeta currently one-shotting them, so I have Piccolo placed here. And for anybody that wants to downplay the Gammas or say that they weren't at full power or on guard or whatever, we know that the Gammas can keep fighting at their full strength pretty much as long as they want until their energy or battery or whatever it is that they have runs out. Now for this next part, you can either place Broly right here or you can place him slightly above in the list, but if you want to place Broly right here, there are some arguments you can use to justify this. This is actually if you believe that Broly is only the strongest man, quote unquote, when talking about everyone in their base form, since it only shows Broly in his base form, and we know that he can't actually willingly transform into his Super Saiyan transformations or his Akari form, which he states, which means that only out of everybody in the movie in their base forms, Broly would be considered the strongest man. But he can place somewhat higher if you believe that the strongest man statement is talking about in general, and this is also accounting for him being in his Akari or his Super Saiyan transformations. Then this would mean that Broly would actually be much higher. It would be somewhere around the level of Beast Gohan, and maybe even Black Frieza as well, which you can argue to be shaky, but some of the arguments for this aren't actually that bad. Then there's Beast Gohan himself, and as I've said previously, he's been stated by Akira Toriyama to just be the strongest warrior outright, and is also said to be stronger stronger than anyone. Whether or not you think this anyone is referring to or is only talking about the Z fighters, the Saiyans, includes antagonists and whatnot, or is actually just all encompassing and is saying everyone in general, then these are pretty powerful statements. Then there's incomplete Cell Max, and I know a lot of y'all are probably like, hey, Captain, we about to unsub, you about to get disliked, L plus ratio. Look, I know, but listen, let me tell y'all why I have Cell Max above this Gohan. So as I said before, Piccolo's statement right after the fight where he says that if it weren't for the Gammas weakening Cell Max, then they would have actually lost the battle. He was indeed talking about Beast Gohan as well, or including him in this statement, because we know that he was watching Beast Gohan fight and he saw what he was doing to Cell Max. And as I said before, Piccolo is a pretty good gauge of power, whether it is for himself or just other people. So he wouldn't just be lying or just trying to hype up Cell Max for no reason. And keep in mind, Piccolo had to hold down Cell Max and stop him from moving, because had Gohan not hit him with that special beam cannon, then there is a case to be made that they could have actually lost the battle. And I know you could probably just say that Piccolo was holding them down to make it easier for Gohan to hit him, which yes, that is true, but also at the same time, Cell Max probably would have dodged that special beam cannon, or if he would have had that blast actually hit Gohan, then there is a possibility that Gohan could have also died as well. Also, it's important to note that Cell Max was also much more serious and bloodlusted against Beast Gohan as compared to everybody else, because as soon as he felt his ki increasing and saw him transform, he immediately tried to attack Beast Gohan off rip, and then just said, all right, I'm gonna just make an extremely large ki blast and just try to hit him with it. Now again, if you guys disagree with this list, that's fine, but please don't get on my head about it. You guys can disagree with me down below in the comments. After all, this is my list and my video, so yeah. Next is the version of Broly if you think that the strongest man statement is encompassing all of his actual transformations and isn't just talking about his base form. As I said, Broly was stated by Akira Toriyama to be able to defeat incomplete Cell Max, the same version that Piccolo himself says that nobody that was currently present at the battlefield would have been able to do. And Gohan had an arguably higher extreme diff fight with the monster. So again, just to reiterate, if you think that this statement is only talking about base Broly and isn't including any of his transformations, then he would be below Beast Gohan in strength. But if you think that this is also including all of his transformations, then this would place Broly above Gohan no matter how you look at it. And so when it comes to Broly versus Beast Gohan, who would actually win if these two were to fight? Well, the answer is really either, to be honest. It just depends on how and what you argue. If you believe that Broly does not scale above incomplete Cell Max and Gohan had to get constant amounts of help just to hold down and defeat the beast, then I can see Broly winning this pretty confidently, especially when factoring in his growth rate and adaptation. Broly has been shown crossing huge gaps in power in such a short amount of time, being able to go from base post tournament of power Vegeta level all the way to Super Saiyan Gogeta level in the span of at least an hour. I didn't say Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta since we all know that he never landed a single hit on him, and if you guys don't believe me, you can rewatch that fight. He literally never landed a single hit on Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta. Anyways, that's besides the point. Although Broly isn't able to willingly transform, his base power is more than great enough to possibly take Gohan down. There's also the other statements like him being the strongest Saiyan or history's greatest enemy, and even Akio Ioku stating that Broly is so strong that they had to change how the story of the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie and arc was made by having Cell Max not be stronger than Broly, which, as I've said before and shown before, is just true. So technically speaking, Broly could genuinely be considered the strongest Saiyan as of right now and could possibly beat Beast Gohan. This is also if you factor in his other transformations, then it would probably just be overkill. And as for Gohan, if you believe that Toriyama's statements of him being stronger than anyone else and him being the strongest warrior, which would include Black Frieza, who is nearing the level of a god of destruction, and Broly, who was stated to, or at least questioned to be on that level himself, especially in the movie, and has grown a lot since then you could just argue that Gohan would be above that and is currently the strongest mortal as of right now and is unquantifiably stronger than Broly to some degree. Although he would need to beat him right away, because if he doesn't, then Broly will begin to adapt, and if he does do that, then Gohan will have a really hard time and will possibly end up losing. And in my opinion, if these two titans were to clash against each other, then there is no doubt in my mind that Zeno and even the Grand Priest himself would just be completely erased. Thank you all for watching the video. Please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment to help support both me and the channel. I would really appreciate it. I also have other Dragon Ball Super videos on my channel, like my most recent one, which was a month ago, which was Black Frieza versus Beerus. This is on screen right now, so you can check it out if you would like to do that. Or you can check out my last video I posted, which was Luffy versus Maharaga, and see my thoughts on that matchup. Thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.